Now, let's have a discussion on this development with lawyer and Arise analyst Frank Tietie. Thank you so much for your time on Newsnight. Well, families are grieving, and of course, communities are in ruin. And of course, the question of safety and responsibility are largely driving this conversation at this time, where to put the blame, whether the safety measures were adhered to and all of that. But or who do you think rather bears the responsibility for such a preventable tragedies? Do you think the tanker operators, is it the road regulators, the FRSC, or the government?
Accidents are bound to happen, and most times they're unforeseen, and that's why we have the concept of insurance, right? That is, there are certain things that can happen, but we're a country that has had a history of several what I call petrol-related fires, either burst pipelines or tankers falling over, like we had in Jigawa, where over 170 people were killed in October. The figures are varying. Some said were 260 and all that. So just in October last year, and then even though the information minister is saying that it's just a number of over 200 and something people. Point is that if we acknowledge from the beginning that this is an accident, then the first question should be, in terms of the preliminary investigations, should show who are the owners of the tankers, and what were the registration procedures. There's a sort of union. Those tanker drivers, they belong to, they are owned by members of NUPENG, for example, who are union members of NUPENG. And I'm not surprised why NUPENG is trying to shift the blame to bad roads, which I don't think. We who live in the FCT, listening to Omo Bazoye's report, expecting a legislation from the National Assembly as to how safety of tankers on our roads, I think it's unnecessary, because when you have an agency like the Federal Road Safety Corps, because we here in Abuja, simply at a time where we had some kind of big vehicles that carry construction workers like sardines, are always towards down to Nasarawa State. We're always having failed brake accidents, and many people were dying. It was a simple regulation from the Federal Road Safety Corps that they should not move at a certain time, and that actually such vehicles be phased out. And so much of that kind of accidents have reduced. So one would have thought that certain regulations should have by now come with regards to, especially after witnessing the Jigawa tanker fire in the last, how many months? I'm talking about in the last 3 months. In that case, I think the responsibility should fall on the state. That is, accidents that are preventable.
On the state government?
On the Nigerian state.
Okay, the Nigerian state. All right.
Because you must understand that area, because it's densely populated, especially with a lot of poor working people in that place. Densely populated. I go to court in those areas, so I know. And a lot of persons could have even been caught in the middle of the fire trying to pass that road, even if they were in their own cars. So I think that it could have been prevented. And to think that we could, the local government authorities, the state authorities, the immediate police authorities could not prevent the convergence of persons around the fallen tanker who were scooping fuel, shows that the responsibility is on them, that they could not prevent those persons who did not know, because we cannot accuse those poor persons who know how much value free fuel is, who were there. And so I think the responsibility calls. I don't really want to go to NEMA, because one would expect that NEMA took some time to get there. But the immediate authorities, the police could have actually cordoned off that area immediately.
Let me butt in a bit, because this is not the first time we're hearing about such tragedies, particularly the Suleja road. This particular road, we've had multiple tanker explosions and accidents like these, and it would seem that perhaps we've not learned, lessons, from the past incident, because sometimes the concern, therefore, and what people are saying is that when this issue or something like this happen, then we'll start seeing, responses from the government, release of statement from different agencies of the government who are responsible. So how do you think we've learned lessons? Instead of, perhaps what people are saying is, instead of talking, why not find a lasting solution instead of a short-term measures that could address
the lessons to be learned should include that. I asked the question, And I am hoping that the preliminary investigations will show the owners of the tankers so that we know the insurance company. Because in Nigeria, no vehicle should be on the road without the third-party insurance protection for persons who would suffer any form of harm that results from its activity. So it doesn't matter whether the number of persons that have died. I'm very saddened to realize that many of them have been buried in terms of being given a mass burial. But I would have thought that some forensics, some documentations, some persons... See, because accidents like this are very important opportunities for developing countries to actually seize as opportunities to grow, to standardize. So first, you're saying that what do we put in place? You see, we have an eternal responsibility to get our citizens educated. It's such a big indictment on our country that the average Nigerian citizen does not know the danger of mass spilled petrol that is easily highly inflammable. It's dangerous, and I mean, to our development agenda. So that's sad. So one lesson that we need to learn is to put massive massive investment in our education. General education, we think that...
How about the issue of road infrastructure as well?
Well, I must confess to you,
some parts of
I must
the road
confess
across
to
the
you,
country
yes, that the road particularly, there is this Sukuk funding that was used to repair the roads around that area. However, that particular place, it seems as if no matter how much the authorities try to fix that road, it doesn't really get better. However, it's not the problem of the road. I don't think we should put the blame on the road. We're talking about the safety measures. Do we really certify our drivers? When I look, you see, growing up, you need to see highly experienced persons who drive petroleum tankers. But look at small boys who are oftentimes, many times that I know for certain, they're on drugs. One sort of, drugs that keeps them high on the road, So we should standardize. So lessons to be learned, things we need to do is that let's increase the standard. For example, the standard is that you need to have a minimum number of pilots in an airplane. So why do you think that we should give one 18-year-old to drive $100 million naira worth of tanker and all that?
Place, and what the question is, why are they failing? I mean, why these measures keep failing, and what needs to change?
Look, my brother, I don't see those measures, sir.
Okay.
If we have those, there are clearly no standards. If we have proper drivers, if we have, for example, let the Federal Road Safety Corps give us the dossier or the data as to the special test they have given, the special certification or training they've given to tanker drivers because of the menace that they have considered.
Yeah, just because of our time.
Community.
You mentioned the issue of insurance. I mean, the question now be, would these victims be compensated?
They should be compensated, definitely. No, see, and that's the problem with our country. And that's why we need to learn so much. These are times, if we took the Jigawa tanker fire so seriously, and the state government, even the local government could have set up a panel of inquiry.
Who is going to compensate them?
That's why we have...
or the insurance company
let me tell
covering
you,
the tankers.
People should go to jail for certain forms of irresponsibility and what I would call criminal negligence. Somebody should insure that tanker, knowing the possibility. We are a country that has such a history that tankers will fall and people will die as a result of that. Now, the insurance company should give the proper premium, and you must pay the premium as at when due. If these things were not in place, somebody should be held responsible. Let's take that first, so that we know that if a tanker is on the road, it is, the insurance company will ensure that there is proper standardization as to the driver and as to the tanker itself. Because you heard the Federal Road Safety Corps expert saying that the tanker itself was not properly lashed to the vehicle. What kind of thing is that? Why should it be allowed? Knowing the amount of insurance, the insurance payment that the company will pay with regards to an airline accident makes the insurer to put everything possible to ensure that the standards are kept. But we should not apply it. So the same thing to oil tankers.
Let's touch on the bigger picture before I let you go. Because some have rightly suggested that there should, maybe Nigeria should start considering serious alternative to road-based fuel transportation, such as rail pipelines. When are we going to start talking about it? Because
look, CB, I think we need to get an expert in that area to come and talk about it. However, growing up in the Niger Delta, growing up in Warri and the Ugili Axis, I have seen pipes that pipe petrol even in short distances.
Right.
And then I also know that there are pipelines that pipe petrol from Benin to Warri down through even up to northern Nigeria. But the problem was that the boys took a job in busting pipelines, right? And so we now had the JC fire that killed over 1,000 of 1,000 people from that area. I was there. I was in the university at that time. It was such a gory sight. It was just a very big international tragedy. So it's not about change. It's very sad thing because we're talking about Suleja. If you go to a place, even there's a tank farm in somewhere around Mina, and then there are pipelines that actually can convey these products even to these short distances where tankers don't need to be plying federal roads like that. So, but those measures will not succeed unless there is some measure of civic education. Why should we just break rules? Why should our citizens realize that, petrol shouldn't realize that petrol is dangerous? So the point is about national reorientation and then improve the state of the economic state of the people. The poverty is just too much. And that's the reason why Nigerians lose a sense of safety. Perhaps the ones who have died, and I don't want to say this, that perhaps they have gone and left the suffering, because there is really, you need to see the horrendous, painful conditions that they live in that particular area in Suleja. It's terrible.
I think a good place to leave it. Frank Tietie is a lawyer and a rise analyst. Thank you for coming on News.